We are post June 1st, and Dalvin Cook is still a member of the Minnesota Vikings. For now, anyway. And according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, there's a possibility that the Vikings could still be holding out for a Dalvin Cook trade to happen, saying, quote, "Teams I talked to believe they're open to a trade and maybe holding out for that. So they held on to his $14 million cap hit for a while now and can do so a little bit longer in the short term, but they can save $11 million on their salary cap if they trade him now that we're past June 1st. And so should be some interest there if they can shake it out. If not, they might even have to release him or work on some sort of reworked contract for him to return. But I'm told that Cook at this point is open to a fresh start. He's now healthy as well after the shoulder surgery. In terms of cap savings for the now, the Vikings have, as it stands, just over $9 million to work with. So you could technically still have Cook on the roster for 2023, as well as sign Dalton Risner if you wanted to. But at this point in the game, so late into the offseason, cap savings is not going to change anything worth a damn. Where the impact does happen, however, is for next season, because you got to remember the Vikings already have close to a combined dead cap hit of $40 million between Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter. So not allowing $12.5 million of Dalvin Cook to hit the books next season, that is a big deal. That's where it stops, because either way, the road ends here. Front offices around the league, they pay attention to maybe not necessarily the media, ESPN, FS1, but they pay attention to your actions. So Kwesi Adofo-Mensah all offseason long, tap dancing around the future of Dalvin Cook being a member of the Minnesota Vikings. You also re-signed Alexander Mattison. We'll talk about him in just a second. But at this point in time, any leverage that may exist for the Vikings is so small because the message is clear. We don't want him on the team. He's been connected to the Dolphins, and whether it's the Dolphins or any other team that may be interested in the services of Cook, we're talking about a running back here. I would wait it out. What team? I would be shocked if the Vikings pull off a trade at some point. He's going to be released. What team is willing to trade for a running back and at the same time absorb an $11 million cap hit? I can't think of one. That's the first question. The second question is, what situation has dragged on so much longer than it should have? The Dalvin Cook situation or the Fast and the Furious saga? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. And now getting to Alexander Mattison, talking about showing your hand to the rest of the league, Dalvin Cook. Kevin O'Connell recently had high praise for the new presumptive RB1 for your Minnesota Vikings, saying, quote, "It's been really good to see Alex Mattison take a few more reps and really show that all three down kind of ownership that he's been capable of for a long time. Three down ownership, that's bell cow vibes, aka the Dalvin Cook role. And it is worth noting, however, that during OTAs, every player looks fantastic, every player's in the best shape of their lives, and they're about to have their breakout year. Mattison, as a starter, he is safe. 4 yards per carry for his career, just two fumbles in 404 attempts. So that's once every 202 tries. Compare that to Dalvin Cook, one fumble every 67 tries. You do sacrifice going from Cook to Mattison as a starter. You do sacrifice the footwork, the vision, the cuts. Mattison, he just puts his head down and he just goes. So the run blocking is very important. The lanes have to be open. He's solid. And for a team that didn't run much last year, Mattison as a 3-down back, it really doesn't matter. However, if you want to have a more balanced approach, Mattison as a 3-down back, in my opinion, it could get you into trouble a bit, because that's you saying that you're relying on him to be a focal contributor for the offense. He will be the RB1 to start the season, but how long will that last? I feel like I'm going to say midway through the 2023 year that Ty Chandler will take over. He has the footwork, the vision, and the explosiveness that you want. But shout out to Madison for making the most of his opportunities. He's taken advantage of it, and good for him. Switching gears here. Justin Jefferson, superstar wide receiver, has not been in attendance for Vikings voluntary OTAs, along with Danielle Hunter and Dalvin Cook. My stance on this will always remain consistent. Voluntary is voluntary. Yet it's funny how every offseason is pointed out, oh, this player didn't show up. This player didn't show up. This player didn't show up. What's happening here? The irony is, in the eyes of front office executives and with the coaching staff, it's titled voluntary only by name. The reality is your status as a player is what really matters. Example, if Tristan Jackson decided, you know what, I'm not showing up for voluntary OTAs, I'm going to work out separately and I'll show up for a mandatory minicamp. What? If he did that, he would be cut tomorrow. Jefferson, he has the cachet to do that. It's really unfair, but that's what it is. I think it's much to do about nothing. Now, every situation is different. It's different compared to Hunter and Cook. Hunter, he wants to get paid more, rightfully so. And Cook, he figures he's not going to be on the team anyway, so what's the point? I think it's much to do about nothing. If he doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, Justin Jefferson, then we panic. And now it's comments time, baby. Larry Ives says, I think the kickoff rule, like the majority of the recent rules, have just watered down the game. Eliminating a part of the game that can change the momentum of a game in 10 seconds or less makes the game less entertaining. The fact is, these rules are tarnishing the fabric of the game, and the product on the field suffers because of it. Stop effing the game up. I totally agree, and it's beyond just the kickoff returns for a touchdown. That's super exciting to watch. That happens once in a while, but it's more about throughout the course of a game. If you have a returner that can maybe every other or every 3 times get you a favorable starting point compared to back in the day settling for the touchback at the 20, that was a big deal. That was super, super valuable. But the reality is now you're not going to do much better getting past the 25. So whether it's a touchback or the new fair catch rule, at this point, doing a kickoff is just a waste of time. It really, really is. Garrett Kielberg says, don't hate, bro. Look at what KOC did with Zim's offensive players. And what about how he got Kirk to develop killer instincts in the 4th? Our new defensive coordinator will surprise you. I'm predicting a top 15-ish defense. Wow. Our schemes were terrible last year. Hunter comes back. Watch out. I'm not hating on the offense at all. In fact, was it my last video? I think if I'm not mistaken, it was the last video where I said the Vikings, they will have a high octane top 5 offense in the league. That's my prediction for 2023. Defensively, that's very bold what you're saying right there, Garrett, because you're essentially saying that he'll have a Zimmer-like turnaround the first year. Zimmer, 2013, the Vikings, they had the 31st ranked defense. Zimmer comes around that first year as head coach. They were top half in the league, 14th ranked defense. So you're saying that they're going to have to improve from being bottom of the barrel to top half of the league in just 1 year. Wow. I mean, I would love to see it, because if you have a top 5 offense and a top half of the league defense, you could be a contender, but I'm not going to count the chickens before they hatch just yet. And lastly, Nunn says, I hope Brian Flores doesn't leave after 1 year to pursue a career as head coach again. I get what you're saying, Nunn, but if you want to try to look at it from a positive standpoint, it's a good problem to have. Because that means after having the 31st ranked defense in 2022, Flores, he comes around and he gets a head coaching job after next season, 2024. It means he did a damn good job with the Vikings in 2023. Look what he did with the Vikings. We have to interview this guy for a head coaching gig, and still staying with the positive approach. He's going to lay the groundwork for one of these assistant coaches to step up and carry on where he left off. But you know what? Let's deal with that after the 2023 season. It's no point in worrying about that right now.